Have you ever had that feeling? You know the one where you're standing right in front of a locked door and you're just absolutely convinced that everything you need to know about your life, about everything, is waiting just on the other side? It's this deep, unsettling feeling that echoes through so many of our greatest stories. The sense that we are on the verge of some huge revelation that, well, that never seems to arrive. And that brings us to Franz Kafka, and a parable that is just so haunting. It's about a man who shows up from the country and he wants to get into something he simply calls the law. Seems like a simple enough request, right? I mean, he believes the law should be for everyone. But what he finds isn't an open door, it's a guard, an obstacle. You know, this image of a man just waiting at a door, it's incredibly powerful because what Kafka is doing here so brilliantly is he's showing us our own relationship with the big, unanswerable questions of our existence. We feel like we've been summoned, like we have to be there, but when we finally show up, the door stays shut. And here's the paradox, the part that's so maddening. This man from the country spends his entire life waiting. His whole life. The doorkeeper keeps telling him, yeah, entry is possible, just, not now. The door itself is wide open, you can see right in, but philosophically, it's sealed. The promise is always there, but it's always just out of reach. So, what even is the law? Is it supposed to be God? The truth with a capital T? The meaning of life? Well, here's the thing. Kafka never tells us. And that's the entire point. This isn't just a story about one guy's frustration. It's a mirror. It's showing us our own search for answers in a universe that, most of the time, seems completely silent. And this search for a secret, for what's behind that door, well, that's the engine that drives so many of the most epic journeys in literature. It's a quest for something more than just an object. It's a quest for an explanation. Think about Moby Dick, Captain Ahab's hunt for that white whale. It's so much more than just revenge. For him, that whale is the physical embodiment of a cruel, uncaring universe. So when Ahab screams at the whale's severed head to tell us the secret thing, he's really just screaming his questions into the empty void. You see this quest take a totally different form in Dante's Inferno. His journey down into hell isn't just a grim tour of all the things that can go wrong. No, it's a really methodical attempt to map something that's totally unmappable, to try and force human logic onto the terrifying mystery of what comes after death. He's literally walking through the shadow of death to try and figure out its rules. And then you get someone like Dostoevsky who takes this huge external quest and just turns it completely inward. He puts it right inside the human soul. Because in a world where the ultimate authority, God, is being questioned, well then, the search for the law becomes this desperate, frantic search for a moral compass. How do you know what's right when the ultimate rulebook might just be gone? Well, what happens when the quest completely fails? I mean, what happens when it's not just about failing to find the answers, but the very ground you're standing on, reality itself, just starts to disintegrate? That's when the void stops being some external mystery and becomes an internal horror. Look at George Orwell's 1984. The state doesn't just lie to people. It actively destroys the very idea of truth. And its ultimate weapon is something called doublethink. It's not about choosing a lie over the truth. No, it's much more insidious. It's about making the distinction between them totally meaningless. I mean, take this one chilling example from the book. The main character, Winston, knows for a fact that these confessions are impossible because he literally held a photograph that proved it. But the party just erases the proof. They declare the lie to be the new truth. And if history can be rewritten on a whim, if 2 + 2 can actually equal 5, then what is real anymore? The door to the law isn't just closed, the whole building has been torn down. This kind of collapse of order on the outside, you see the exact same thing happen on the inside, with Shakespeare's King Lear. The king gets stripped of everything, his power, his family, even his own sanity. And as he's standing there in the middle of a storm, he's forced to confront his own raw, naked existence. When all the titles and illusions are gone, what's left? Just a poor, bare, forked animal. He's staring right into his own personal void. So, how do these characters, and, let's be honest, how do we, respond when the universe just won't answer, and reality itself feels like a lie? Well, they speak. They cry out. They try to have a conversation with the silence. And maybe that's what we are, prisoners of these questions. We're locked in a cell, and all we can really do is stare out the window and wonder, But even from inside that prison, you can still hear voices.
Melville gives us this incredible metaphor, a weaver god. A god so focused on the act of creating, so consumed by the constant hum of its own cosmic loom, that it's literally deaf to our prayers and our questions. It suggests the universe isn't necessarily hostile. It might just be busy, indifferent, and completely unaware we even exist.
Dostoevsky's characters, though, they often find this strange kind of energy in the struggle. One of them even suggests that suffering is life, that the act of wrestling with these impossible questions, even with all the pain it brings, is what separates a real, vibrant existence from a boring one. Maybe to suffer these questions is the only way we can really prove we're alive. So, after all these quests, all this suffering, all this staring into the void, what have we actually learned? Where's the answer? Well, maybe we've been looking for the wrong thing all along. Kafka never tells us what the law is. Melville never reveals the whale's secret. Dostoevsky doesn't prove or disprove God. If you're expecting an answer key to the universe from them, you're going to miss the entire point. See, their genius isn't in solving the mystery. It's in framing the mystery perfectly. They teach us how to ask deeper, sharper, more profound questions. They take our confusion and they turn it into art. And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? At the door. Maybe the meaning we're looking for isn't behind it at all. Maybe the meaning is in the man from the country himself, in his stubborn, lifelong, and, noble act of just waiting and asking and seeking. Maybe confronting the void isn't about getting an answer from the silence. Maybe it's about filling that silence with the sound of our own voice, asking,